Relations beat algorithms.
That's it.
And you have a hat that you've seen you wearing.
It's getting tattooed on my arm. It's on my backpack.
Amazing.
It's on my website. I'm getting a lighthouse tattooed on my arm. Like it's the thing I'm not. It will go on my headstone. I promise you.
Relations beat algorithms.
Relationships beat algorithms. Like George, the most valuable liability you'll ever have, Bryant. Relationships beat algorithms. Consider it done. Put it in my will. I'm done. That's it. That's it. And everything in my life, every win, every loss. We were talking about this before we did the podcast with Who's in the Hallway. Mm-hmm. People forget that you've never had a win in your life without somebody directly contributing to it. Luckily, I just remembered and I can think back and I remember I made that and I looked at my boss. His name was George. He was 38 years older than me, owed me nothing. I'm some shithead piss-on Marine, and he saw something. He said, hey, I know you're not underweight. I know you're not supposed to be in, and I know you barely passed that PFT. You have 6 months. No one will say a word. Do not let me down.
Wow.
I went to work. Mm-hmm. I won my first triathlon 3 months later. So my PT, when she was rehabbing me, I couldn't walk. So what did I use? The water. So she made me swim. She made me kick. She made me do things I hated doing. And then I was already good at running and I threw a bike in. So she signed me up for my first sprint triathlon, got the itch, and I won. So then I trained for a half Ironman. I ran the Nike Town 30K with no feeling in my legs. So basically I barely passed. He bought me 6 months and I was like, all right, I need to be the Terminator because if I don't use my legs, I'm going to lose them. And the doctor was clear. And I was like, great, I need to be unbreakable. I have to think about what my boss is, what my deployments, what my Marines, and I have to outbreak them. And so I started training 3 to 4 hours a day on just my body. Weighted vests, walking up hills frontwards, backwards, bear crawling, burpee broad jumps uphill for hours every day. And I was like, I will break me so you can't break me. And I got to the point where I could run 3 miles in 15:50. I weighed 180. You've seen the picture.
Yeah.
I was yoked.
Yeah, you were.
And so I just went. And as long as I used my legs, they didn't hurt. Ended up with 2 broken legs from stress fractures, healed those, and I went right back in. And so I passed, and then I made it my mission. I was like, I'm going to be perfect. Before my injury, I swore I would never be able to get like a 300 PFT because I had to be able to do 20 pull-ups, 100 crunch, that was it. But it was 3 miles in under 18 minutes, and I'm like a fullback. I'm 5'7". That's a sprint for me. It's 11 and a half miles an hour or something. And I was like, that's it. That's my goal. And I set a goal that I need to be able to sprint 3 miles.
How have you sustained that? It's just crazy.
I started sprinting 100 yards until I could sprint 150 yards, until I could sprint 200 yards. It took me 7 years
to get that goal.
And then at like the top of my career, year 10, all my Marines are 10 years younger than me. I've been through all the injuries. Now I have 2 traumatic brain injuries stacked on top of it. And they nickname me the PT Devil, and nobody will train with me. And I'm just pumping out perfect numbers left and right. Wow. Because I can't stop. Because if I stopped, it hurt. If I stopped, I lost function. And so it was just kind of like a byproduct. And so that's what made me the full recovery. And then I went back on full duty, back to being a Marine, ended up with 56 Marines underneath me, and then ended up back in Afghanistan in 2010.
How many years were you in at that point in time?
So I was in a total of 13. So I came in 2001. Somalia was 2004, 2005. And Somalia that was my home base, but I went to almost every country in Africa, flew over to the Middle East. I had a pretty insane job, hence the injuries. And then, rotated around. I was in Lejeune, North Carolina, ended up stationed in Hawaii. And that's why I got into the triathlons, because my rehab is after I deployed and they did my surgery. They needed to send me somewhere to rehab. So they sent me to a unit that was non-deployable, which happened to be Hawaii. And so, place. But my PT, that's why she was a triathlete, because that's like the hub of triathlon. So in Hawaii. So that just so happened that that's what I fell into. Yeah. And so same thing with CrossFit. I get to Afghanistan. I'm still having to work out. Well, there was only one gym. It was a CrossFit gym.
Didn't you say you were kind of doing some bodybuilding stuff?
I was still lifting, right? Yeah. Like, so what I would do is I would do PT as a Marine, right? I'd do my cardio and then I'd go to the gym for an hour, right? I'd lift, I'd stay strong, right? Like I was still putting up huge numbers. But then I get to Afghanistan and I'm out there for 7 months, and the base is 22 square miles, but we operate where we are. And my unit, our area, we had one gym, and the guys before me had built a CrossFit gym. So the only thing I had to use was a CrossFit gym. So I just started CrossFitting. And so this is how the box jump comes in. So I just start CrossFitting, right? I pick a workout on the CrossFit website. This is 2010. CrossFit.com. I was like, I'll do the workout. I'll do the workout. I'll do the workout. Well, I started posting my times, and my times were really competitive because I had the cardio and I had the strength, and now I was getting the endurance and tying them together. So I just started knocking out these numbers. And so me and like 10 Marines are training one day, and the Fight Gone Bad workout comes up.
The what was it called?
Fight Gone Bad.
Fight Gone Bad.
It's a series of like 8 stations, and one of them is box jumps.
Okay.
Well, there's 10 of us doing it. We only had 2 boxes. And so the only thing next to us left was shipping containers. And they were like 40 inches. So the boxes we were using were 30 inches. So I was like, all right, 2 of us will use those. I'm like, I'll use them. The other guy will use them. So we do the whole workout. And we crush. But the guys using the regular boxes, because they're Marines, were like, whatever, we can jump on that box. And so they go over, they jump on it. And then 2 of them start stacking weights to see who can jump higher. And so all of us just start playing. So we start jumping, we all jump. I win. I don't think much of it. We measure it, and it's like 54 inches. And I was like, oh, that's cool. Went back to work. Don't think anything of it. 2 weeks later, one of my Marines walks in. He's like, hey, Staff Sergeant Brian. Like, what's up? He's like, do you know what the world record for a standing box jump is? And I was like, no, and I don't care. And he's like, it's 56 inches. And I was like, and? He's like, you jumped 54 the other day. I'm like, great. I don't care. Get back to work. We're leaving the wire in an hour. Wow. And he's like, all right, cool. Get back to work. Don't think anything of it. Go on a mission. Blah, blah, blah. Like a week later, I get a phone call, and I'm in Afghanistan, and the colonel's like, in my office now. And I'm like, oh. And I was like, I didn't do anything. That went right. I have no clue. I walk in. She's like, what's your problem? And I'm like, what are you talking about, ma'am? I have no clue. She's like, world record? I'm like, what? Yes, ma'am. She's like, you're attempting a Guinness World Record, I hear. And I was like, yeah, I am. And she's like, is this the first time you're hearing about it? I'm like, no, ma'am. And she's like, are you covering for someone right now? I'm like, no, ma'am. And she's like, what is this? And I had to tell her the story. And I was like, and she's like, who? I'm like, I'm not telling you who, but I have an idea. She's like, well, this sucks. You have one option. I was like, what is it? She's like, do it.
Wow.
And I was like, okay.
Why are they so hesitant on supporting you?
It wasn't about supporting me. I'm in the middle of a deployment, and they submitted it, and then the media outlets started reaching out. We want to interview him. We want to get him on calls. Like it's like I'm doing a job. Like this is not like media relations. We're not deployed on a boat somewhere, right? And so it's like this is the last thing that's like on the thing, right? And so of course we have some downtime and like things like that happen, but it just wasn't in my purview. And so I don't think anything of it. And then I was like, all right, cool. So I start training. By the way, to add 2 inches takes like a year. Just so you know.
On your box jump. Not someone else.
I hear there's podcast advertisements for those things.
I have to clarify. You just let the door wide open on a lot of things today.
I know, Flex. I'm waiting for you to slide in and close it.
Ew.
Well, I'm here.
Jesus.
We cuddled last night next to doing IVs. I don't care what you say. I don't care.
Don't let the pink boots fool you guys. Don't worry.
That's why he likes them. And so that was it. And I didn't think much of it. I didn't make a big deal of it. Like for me, I was like, cool, I'm already working out every day. So we just start training. And I'm doing stupid shit. Like my Marines, I'd be like, they're like, what are we going to do today? I'm like, we're going to do a 2-mile burpee jump run. And they're like, what? I'm like, yep, burpees and jump for 2 miles in the desert. And then we'd grab 7-ton tires, these giant tires. And we're like, all right, for time around the compound, 1.5 miles of tire flips. Like that's the stuff we were doing.
But you were just making stuff up. CrossFit was in its very early infancy stage.
Yeah. And we didn't have like big gyms. Like we had a couple bars, we had big tires, we had ropes. So like for my rings, we had to pull out the construction equipment and hang my rings on the forks.
And most of the stuff was on Reddit and stuff, right? Forums and whatnot.
Yeah.
There wasn't like a designated website. No. Thank you for watching this segment. Check out the full interview on iTunes, Spotify, or YouTube. Help us by subscribing. Leave a like, comment, or a positive review. Click this to see what YouTube recommends, and this to see the full interview. See you on the next one. Out.